I like how we said sitting down, because at one point I was like, where are the chairs? We're going to stand for this whole session. It's interesting what Shai just said actually about Facebook targeting, because you know how it says it follows you around. Two things. One is it's really bad to follow someone that just showed everyone on holiday, and everyone now is not thinking about what we're going to be talking about. Everyone's thinking about the cruises and the discounts. But the other one is, I don't know how you guys feel, but every time I get targeted, I am a sucker for Instagram and Facebook, and I purchase. But then the ad follows me for weeks. And I'm like, I've already done it. Leave me alone.
That's what we do for a living, mate.
So let me introduce the panel. Let's go through each person. Tell us where you're from and what you do. And what's super interesting is we have 3 different industries and we have 3 different types of roles within each. So this could be quite unique. Let's see if they get along. That'll be even more interesting.
I already don't like them, I can tell.
Go for it, Ryan. Why don't you start?
Oh, I'm up first. Well, okay. My name is Ryan Gracie. I am the Chief Marketing Officer of Woolworths Market Plus. Everyone will think, what the hell is Woolworths Market Plus? Woolworths Market Plus is a portfolio of businesses. We've got Big W Market. We've got Everyday Market, which is on woolworths.com.au. We've got Everyday Reward Shop, and we've got My Deal. I started at My Deal 4 years ago. It was all good fun until Woolworths knocked on the door and said, we want to buy you. So we sold to the big corporate behemoth, and now we're part of that. Prior to being at My Deal, I spent 5 years at Catch. Same thing happened there, actually. I was having a good time until Wesfarmers knocked on the door and said, get out. Prior to Catch, I was at JB Hi-Fi, so I've got retail in the veins. I love this crazy shit, and we do it every day. It's good
Awesome. Nice. Leah.
So hi everyone. Lovely to be here. Leah Rankin, Chief Product Officer at SiteMinder. So talking about the beautiful imagery we just saw, that's the industry that I'm in the holiday space, particularly hotels. So SiteMinder has a revenue and distribution platform. You might say, what is that? Equally, really it's about getting more of the right guests to the hotel through the right channel at the right price so that they can optimise revenue. So we actually work with Luxury Escapes. They're one of our partners. We've got about 450 plus channels that we connect with that you all would engage with as you're discovering where you want to go on holiday. And so that's what we do. So great to be here.
Awesome. So I get the discount from you or from Shai?
Well, yeah, we can talk. Maybe double up.
Jos.
Hi everyone, my name is Jos. I'm the General Manager for Digital at Allianz. So my team is looking after everything digital marketing campaigns, websites, customer experience, applications, marketing technology, so end-to-end customer journey. We basically do our business through allianz.com.au, so our website, but also part of our digital strategies that we integrate with our partners. We work with NAP, Westpac, BMW, OEM partners, dealers. So part of our strategy is also to integrate into their ecosystem. We're on a journey of personalisation. We do a lot of optimization. So yeah, I think lots to talk about.
Yeah, awesome. We'll go back the other way now. What are your biggest challenges?
There are a lot. No, I think there's probably a couple. And if you look at it from different angles, right? I think the first one is if you look at the customer, changing customer behavior. And it's probably faster than we think. I consider myself to be a bit older, but if you look at generations, younger generations, very different. If I talk to my younger cousins, they don't even know what Google is. They use TikTok, right? So there's a whole world that's changing. I think the second thing is the availability of data. In the previous presentation, we can talk about personalization, but data is basically the fuel to drive it. Not so sure about other companies, but typically an insurance company with a lot of legacy systems, data and the availability of data is really a challenge. Another one, if I look at my stakeholders, internal stakeholders, again, coming back to the previous presentation towards the end, is what's the result? So what's the business value that it's driving? We've been for a long time in a position, all the digital stuff that you're doing is great, but we talk a lot about the stuff that we do, and we need to get better at articulating what the business value is. I think with the rapidly changing environment, we'll probably, let's say, get more questions about what's the value driving, are we successful, yes or no.
Is it getting easier or is it getting harder?
Depends a bit on the tools that we have available. So to give you an example, if we would run, let's say, a test, you might have, let's say, 6 weeks, 8 weeks before you get a result. I think we need to get faster at getting those insights.
Yep.
And basically have insights much quicker.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
skill and speed is key.
Yeah, we have this theory. I'm going to go along the panel, but we do have this theory, I think, that we have these big line metrics, but we lack the insights that we need every single day to make decisions on what we're changing, what the impact is.
Yeah.
We're doing it after the fact. Does that resonate with you guys?
Yeah, totally. I think to your point, we're really looking for almost instant insights.
Yep.
And how can we rapidly change and respond?
Yep.
Rather than having something out in market for 6 weeks and not knowing what's happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Leah, what about you?
Yeah, that all resonates greatly. I think just the pace of change, right? We've heard it today, we've heard it this morning. Everyone's feeling it, like everything's just moving so quickly. You know, AI obviously is changing, as you rightly pointed out at the beginning of the morning. And I just think everyone's, really feeling that stress. I definitely think there's a lot more pressure and stress on business as well to prove, or show value or cut costs or, be more efficient or be more effective. And I think just this, almost to me, it feels a little bit like we're at this point where it's kind of compounding. There's just so much change happening in the market, and certainly in every industry, but certainly in the travel industry. I mean, all that can happen is something crazy happens in the US and travel just changes dramatically, and that's not something anyone can predict, even if they had a glass ball. So the world's just getting more and more complex, more and more dynamic, and I think that means we just have to have your finger on the pulse more than ever before, which is where I absolutely agree. You need to be able to dig down into the real nuts and bolts of what's happening, why it's happening, where's it happening, be able to respond dynamically as well. I think that's becoming really important. Like the days of, as you say, running a test for X amount of days and talking about it at the next board meeting and making a decision, they're long gone. It's just minute changes and minute decisions that need to be made, and be able to prove that as well. So I think that for us at least, it's a big impact, and ultimately that means it changes your team, like it changes your people. It's interesting, I was just reading an article yesterday. Of course, we're all reading everything we can on the AI movement and what it means for business. But, this article is really, I thought it resonated because it talked about the fact that it's organisational change, right? Yes, it's tech. Yes, we need to think about what it means for our customers, what it means for our business, what it means for efficiency. But it actually is a massive organisational change. So, there's a big sort of people piece that we're kind of struggling with or working through, as I'm sure everyone is at the moment as well.
How many people in your organisation?
So we've got 1,200 globally.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's 70 in my part of the organisation, which is product management, product design. Our product owners also sit there, as well as product marketing. So we're not massive, certainly not with my peers here on stage, but big enough that change is hard, right?
As the product owner, do you own the customer experience? Are you the one responsible for it?
Yeah, ultimately yes. Like where we've come from, I know that's.
Do you have a chief marketing officer as well? Because this could be a really tricky question.
Right, yeah, I might have.
We all own the customer.
Yes, correct. Absolutely, spot on. We indeed do. No, absolutely. We've got the way we're broken up actually is quite. Sort of almost like in capabilities, but then we have sort of an experience layer on top. But yes, couldn't agree with you more that we're all responsible for customer experience. Yes, we'll hug it out. Yeah.
What about you, Ryan? What are the big challenges?
The challenges. I think Josh mentioned customer expectation. Leo, you mentioned the pace of change, and those two things have come together. And really, what's on our mind and the challenges that we face are external. The competitors that we're seeing come from overseas, who are bringing that pace of change, but also augmenting what customers expect. I mean, they wake up this morning expecting to be able to buy something this morning and receive it this afternoon. They never expected that a few years ago. They expect an infinite range of products that we can't always supply. We operate in a marketplace world. We operate 4 marketplaces, and we compete solely against not just Kmart and JB Hi-Fi, but now this is really against Amazon, Temu, Shein, all those international guys that have come over and taught us the trick and taught us how to play. So those expectations are something that we just need to keep up with around how we play in the logistics game, how we play on expanded range, how we keep the experience on parity on the site. And then there is a game that we can play which is a competitive advantage of ours, and that is that we have a store network. And Woolworths has 2,000 stores. Big W has 178 stores. That's something that they can't leverage. That's something a game that they can't play at the moment. So we need to double down and work out how we play this omni-channel game, how we allow customers to pick up in store, how we allow them to return products to store back to a marketplace seller, how we bring that experience cross-channel. We also have a huge opportunity with data. We are Everyday Rewards, after all. Most of you will be an Everyday Rewards member. 50% of Australians scan at the checkout at Woolworths. 50% of Australians, or 50% of people that shop at MyDeal scan their Everyday Rewards card. We have so much first-party data that we're able to leverage, and we probably need to do a better job of that across the group, because these are competitive advantages that the other guys can't play with.
That's such a good point, and we talk a lot to customers about data is almost more important than the AI. But it feels like we're still gathering lots of data and we don't yet know really what to do with it. Does that resonate?
I think that sometimes it's just overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
There is just so much. We're a pure play online. We always knew so much about our customers prior to being part of Woolworths. Now we just know more. And we're able to see cross-shop, we're able to see spend propensity, we're able to see psychographics, all of the things.
Yep.
But where the hell do you start?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just can't ingest it into the right system to deploy all those things that Shay was talking about earlier.
Yeah, 100%. Like, we've got 125 million reservations that go through our platform each year. So absolutely a huge amount of data, but they also sit in different systems. So then you've got your legacy kind of tech, and we've also got, we're one of those companies that has Snowflake and Databricks.
Just in case.
Yeah, just in case, exactly. So because we've very much seen, the business operate over here, and then the product operates over here. I'm seeing a few nods, so I think people can, relate to that to a degree. And obviously in today's world where we need to be more product-led, where we have to be really embracing AI, that's got to overlap. That's got to become one. And so I think that the data pieces, it underpins everything. It goes without saying, but it's not easy. It's tricky.
I think these days you also hear people saying we're a data-led company. And to be honest, it always scares me a little bit, because yes, data is a strategic asset, but you should be customer-led or customer-focused, right? And I think there's a bit of a risk if you've got so much data and you've got all these insights, but what's actually relevant for customers? There's only so much you can do. So I think really sticking to that principle of how do I deliver an amazing customer experience and deliver on what customers need is probably one of the challenges. It's overwhelming, but how do you really get to the point, to the use cases that make sense?
How do you measure it?
The way that we measure it is actually through different sort of KPIs, if you like. We look at business uptake, as in business performance.
Yep.
Customer experience measures, like does it give a better customer experience?
What are those though? Because the business metrics, revenue, profitability, these sort of things, customer acquisitions, the customer experience metrics, is a net promoter score, or is it a specific index that you have?
Yeah, so we use NPS, but also what we call VOC, so 5-star ratings on the experience. But you want to go really granular and really have a deep understanding. I think it's the beauty of today's world is if you would get an overall, let's say, 5-star rating for an experience, that's great. But if you get a 4-star, why is it not 5-star?
Yep.
And really zooming in, but what's the problem? And getting to the bottom of issues that customers have, or frictions. I think that's a lot of the work that we do.
Yep. How quickly can you act on those insights? So if you're getting feedback that things aren't working as well as they should, are you acting faster than you have before?
Yeah, definitely, because we've automated a lot through the systems that we use. So we try to identify pain points, drop-off points in the experience. So we can act much faster, not as fast as I would want to, but probably at least half the time to get to a test or a new experience.
Yeah, okay.
Dave, it feels like you were asking about, are you able to in real time see the input metrics that drive your business?
Yeah.
There's a few members of my team in the crowd, and they love the Tuesday meeting, the metrics meeting, guys. Give us a 200 metrics.
You have a Tuesday metrics meeting.
It's in our calendar every Tuesday.
How long does it go for?
How long do we go for? About an hour and a half.
How long should it go for?
Probably about
Where's
half
the
an hour.
team?
Most of that's banter. But there are literally 200 metrics, and members of the team own sections of them. There'll be an SEO metric, there's an affiliates metric, there's an overall traffic metric, there's a buy now, pay later metric, there's all of the metrics, right? Not that we delve into every single line, but we're able to, in real time, because we look at these things on a daily basis also, see where things are going wrong and identify what the hell, and then take the deep dive and remedy, or triage and then remedy. But I think if you're looking at it from too high a level, conversion rate or traffic or click-through rate, I mean, these are just vanity metrics. You need to go beyond that and under the hood a little bit more to be able to fix things before they become a real problem.
What about you, Leah, with the metrics?
Yeah, so we're SaaS based. We have transactions and SaaS products, so software as a service. So subscription business is at the core of who we are, and then we have transaction products on top of that. So of course, from a company perspective, the obvious things around cost of acquisition, LTV, of course MRR, ARR, all those fun, very important numbers. But when it really comes to my team, we're really looking at more of the lead indicators to all of that, which is very much around product adoption, looking at, what are customers using, where are they dropping off, why aren't they using that, and really driving into that level of detail. Interestingly, we've actually bounced around on metrics. We've definitely had the issue of too many metrics, and then the question of, well, which ones can we influence, which ones should we influence, because of course data can be hugely powerful, but it also can lead you down the wrong path if you don't look at it in the right way, or if you don't approach it with the right mindset. You can certainly say, sales are low, let's just have a promo and smash a promo. But if you do that in the wrong market, you're going to get the wrong customers in, wrong product market fit. All of a sudden, it just means that they're going to churn. So it's about making sure you can kind of look at all of that. So from our team, we wanted to make sure that the product and engineering part of the business, and of course I absolutely believe that we are one team across the entire business, but certainly we need to make sure we understand what are the metrics that matter for us. We've tried to distill those down, someone said, can you get it down to one metric? That's
got the bottom line.
Yeah, true, that's true. Well, success or not, but we've sort of managed to kind of at least get it to about 5 or 6 key health metrics, essentially. We call them product health metrics. So that's sort of really what we're looking at daily.
Daily?
Yep.
Well, okay.
Yep.
What about you guys?
I think what Ryan called out is, if you look at conversion rate as an example, but it comes also back to, do you really understand, let's say, what the root cause is and the key problems that you need to work on? I often ask my team, so what are the 10 pain points that we need to work on today? Because if your conversion rate is dropping, maybe your first response will be price, or might be a technical issue. But there might be drivers sitting underneath that metric. So similar, we have a list of operational metrics that actually roll up into that bigger number. But where's it green and where's it red? Because then you can work on the problem statement, and then you can work on the solution. So I think the trap is always you want to go in solution mode straight away. But do the analysis first, assess the problem, and then come up with the solution.
Yeah, you're hitting on the why behind, can you tell a story behind the data? And you often see too many teams, they will present the number, but they can't give any reasons as to what happened below that. Is that something that you relate to?
Should try this amazing product called Content Square.
So it kind of wasn't where I was going. It sort of was, and it's not.
You're leading the witness.
I am leading in some regards, but whether it's Content Square or it's not, it has been a behaviour. I think where people in the past would go, bounce rate is this, conversion rate is this, and you go, yeah, but what's the story?
Yeah.
Is there an additional story that we're missing here? That maybe the product fit was completely wrong. Maybe we released something that wasn't right. Maybe the imagery isn't good. There's all these other reasons, and I just wonder if that's something that you relate to.
Yeah, it's operational metrics. It's systems. But it's sometimes also talking to real customers, because even the numbers in the dashboard will not always tell you the full story. So we had an example. It's actually one question that we asked in the funnel. And if I look at it with my background, I've been in insurance for more than 20 years. I read that question, it makes total sense to me. But when we ask real customers, what do you think about this question? What do you think the answer should be? They gave the opposite of what we thought.
Yep.
And actually, as a result, it increased the price for no reason. So if you look at, if you play that back, conversion probably dropping through that one question. We rephrased the question and got a better result. We wouldn't Content Square, amazing solution. But we're actually talking to real customers, but it was an insight driving to a next step, asking real customers, what do you think about this experience? So talking to humans is still very relevant. I think that's the message.
Physically talking to them or digitally surveying them?
There are different ways of doing. We basically have online labs that we use with customer panels, etc. You can also invite customers. There's probably no right or wrong, but really having that interaction is absolutely key.
Leah, Ryan, what about you guys?
Yeah, the call on the quant.
Definitely. And I mean, the data doesn't necessarily tell you the answer or the problem, but it definitely should tell you where to look. And I think that's absolutely, we do the same thing. We'll kind of look at a bit of a heat map. Okay, there's a problem there, but how do you dive in and really look at it, whether it is, as you say, going into the data in more detail, whether it's picking up the phone, physically talking to, a customer or a group of customers, or looking, doing other sort of digital surveys. But it's like that feedback, it is interesting because as much as some people, including many senior people in business today, would love the idea of AI replacing all the humans because the cost goes right down. But there's nothing like humans are humans, right? Like you build your product for humans, for people. The people are the people that are building those products as well. So there's nothing quite like being able to kind of tie that feedback and that personal interaction with the data, and that's when you kind of really identify it.
We've been able to use a tool recently with the qual, where you can interview 1,000 people en masse, and the AI will just generate all of the transcripts and highlight the challenges.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But you'd still need a human to do the interviews. Is that how you would see it? Or you can have an AI do the interviews?
Human doesn't touch it. All you do is procure a list, ingest, they turn up, AI asks the questions and transcribes and then relates it all back.
Based on the data you upload,
Or based on the questions that you input,
It's interesting because this morning I showed a AI avatar and I thought it would be a really good idea to replace sales reps with it. And I was like, this would be awesome. I don't have to talk to sales anymore. I just have this AI avatar. And I asked for a thumbs up and a thumbs down. And you guys basically told me it's one of the stupidest ideas I've ever had, which is great. But it's good feedback to get and to know that maybe AI won't replace everything, and maybe the human-to-human connection is still going to be really important.
Maybe that will be the competitive advantage of the future.
Yeah,
Having
totally.
humans.
Back to humans.
Back to humans, But
Real humans.
Yeah, well, I do think, and I mean, obviously we work with hoteliers who go into the business because they love the hospitality industry, right? To be hospitable, to have a great experience for your guests. I mean, we deal with big end of town as far as groups and chains, but also small, like 2 to 20 hotels, boutique hotels. Someone's maybe, retired early and bought like a cool little hotel that they really want to just work there, and they love it because they love having that great engagement with the guest, delivering that great guest experience. And you can't lose sight of that. They're also the people that pick up the phone and talk to us constantly. So no matter how much we try to deflect, they're on the phone to us. But I do think, and certainly what we're seeing is that the role of AI can certainly, of course, take the laborious, admin work away, but it also can allow humans to do what humans do best. And that is the relationship building, that is that empathy, that is the engagement, even just be able to spend a bit more time having a bit of a chat on the phone because the summary of what the customer's been doing, what their problems might be, where they're at with their bill payment cycle, but having that in a succinct summary, which we now can do. Previously that was, several minutes, I'll pop you on hold, and it would take some time to dissect and digest all of that. So, for me, it's just, I'm super excited. I did this one, when you asked, the double
2 hands up.
So, because I'm super excited about where it can take us, but I definitely think it is going to level up what humans can do. So that's why I'm excited by it.
Mate, you guys, are you excited about AI?
I'm excited about AI, but I would say in a sort of reasonable way. I think there's always in history, you've got certain waves of technology, or like we had, when I started my career, so the internet came up and I was in insurance, and they said, in 5 years' time, the whole insurance industry will be digital. Here we are, 25 years later, still half of our business is offline business, right?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it has a. Then we had social media. Companies wouldn't have websites anymore. It would all be Facebook pages. Didn't happen. We had blockchain. Nobody talks about blockchain anymore. So I think AI will be more disruptive than probably some of those, let's say, sort of waves. But I think don't let them don't be scared. Let's say by messages in the news that all jobs are going to disappear. Yes, there will be a shock. It will absorb to a new level.
Yeah.
I think the question is, what will that look like? I mean, we're all humans. We're here today. You're not, let's say, in an online session because you want to have that human interaction. I assume you show up to see us as well, right? So you could also watch a video. So I think that human interaction, especially in some industries, will still be important. I'm not sure about, let's say, what next generations will look like. They grow up in a different way. But yeah, what it looks like is, although I would say, probably some of the things that we never thought would be disrupted might be disrupted now, and that's probably one of the most exciting things.
What disrupt the legal profession, maybe, or accounting?
Let's hope.
Well, if you, I mean, some of the obvious examples are, let's say, asset creation, creative agencies. But even if you look at Google, right? If you look, Google had a monopoly on searching information. That's sort of gone.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
A little bit less Google tax would be nice.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I didn't think that in my career, I would see, let's say, Google being fully disrupted, or at least, let's say, there will be a new level playing field being created. That actually might happen in sort of the next couple of years. So I think it's super exciting to see what will happen. But I think no one can really predict where this will end.
It's changing quickly.
Where are you, Ryan? Are you excited by AI? Your high transaction, like we're talking about relationships and things like this. Does that resonate with you, or are you more just like, let's get AI to do everything?
No, let's not get AI to do everything, but it will do everything. I don't know if the word excited. I'm genuinely excited by change, and I'm excited that I've been able to live through lots of change. I'm 50 years old now, so I existed before the internet existed, and that didn't take everyone's job. I think what scares me rather than excites me is the pace of change, right?
Yep.
Like, this is just changing. What was Moore's law? It was always 22 years or something. I think it's now a couple of years. Like, everything is changing day after day, and I'm trying to stay as up to date as I can, and every day I'm logging on and there's something new to learn. So I feel like unless you are willing to come on the journey and you're going to continue to learn about AI, then you should be shit scared because you'll be left behind. And when they talk about everyone losing their jobs, then you'll be one of them. But if you're willing to learn and embrace, then you will be along for the ride, and you will thrive, right? You will thrive. I was watching the guys build the house next door to me this morning, and they're all using nail guns, and they just go boom, 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 boom. And 20 years ago, they're all like hammering in this hammers, and it would take 3 times as long. We didn't lose carpenters, and carpenters are still existent. They just do things faster, and that's exactly what AI is going to do for all of us. It's just going to make us work a lot faster than we used to, get a lot more things done, less of the mundane things, and that's probably another point, actually. Humans, there's a baseline of our society that does a lot of the mundane things, and it gives them this purpose. And I think you might have seen this in an interview recently with the Anthropic CEO. He made this really good point about being able to maintain this social contract with all of society so that everyone has meaningful employment. And if AI does all of those mundane things and there's no reason to have that baseline, then what is left, right? So you've only got the smart people running the show, and all of a sudden there's a whole part of society that's out of work, and that becomes very bad, and then all of a sudden the world starts to implode. So I just wonder how we continue to bring everyone along for the ride. I mean, when I say everyone, I mean the world, the entire population. So I think that will be the major challenge. It's a tough one.
I think what was a wake-up call for me is recently did some traveling, and you basically go into rural areas. And I think one of the things that I sort of noticed is the difference between sort of almost the bubble that we live in versus, let's say, there's a whole world out there. They don't care about sort of the things that we care about, right? Or that we work with. I feel like sort of the difference, the gap is huge.
And widening.
And it'll get
And
yeah.
widening.
Yeah.
So, we talk about problems, AI, and in some parts of society, people couldn't care less. So I think that's probably one of the things.
And that's part of the problem. I think it's ignorance is bliss. It's not that maybe they could care if they knew it was going to take their job, right?
Yeah.
But they don't know what to do about that.
Yeah.
Because one day it's going to take their job. And they'll wake up and AI is doing it and they'll have nowhere to run. So how do we create opportunity for somewhere for them to run?
At the same time, it felt very comfortable being sort of in nature. It was very calming. So like, maybe you should consider a career switch actually, because this feels less pressure. So there's probably two sides to it.
I'm going to go off script because it feels like we need to now. Are you worried about society then?
Yeah, a little bit. No, I think...
It was
the quote
really
that I
off
saw-
script, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But
No,
like, we are talking about job losses. Like, we're all in digital. Like, this is where we're on the spaceship.
The other quote, though, and like the corollary of this is that 30% of the jobs in 2030 don't exist now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like the JDs, the job descriptions haven't been written yet, and we don't know what they are. Like, I wouldn't be too concerned, but it does go back to the first point. If you don't keep up, then you're screwed.
Yep.
Because you won't be able to apply for these jobs. You
Yep.
just won't know how to do it.
Yep.
So it's almost like our education system needs to change for starters,
Yep.
right? Rather than just kids doom scrolling all day, they actually learn how to use this shit, and then they'll survive, because there's a whole chunk of society that can't be brought along for the journey here. And if we don't bring them along, then I'm scared for society.
So it's apparently 6-year-olds in China are already being taught AI. So
There you go.
that's something.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I think about like my dad. My dad's 80, and he refuses to use the self-service checkout at Coles.
He's going to do someone else's job.
No, totally, but he does.
Yeah.
He still goes into the bank
Yeah.
because he
Tell him
thinks
to look up and down the aisles, and we have all these people picking online orders.
Well, but 100%. And I always say to him, but Dad, you don't realise that's actually created jobs. But it is all very well for me to sit up here, and of course, yes, we're in the space where, we are in that industry. And for me, it's been really interesting watching change because, of course, like most tech companies, we have outsourced some of our engineering capacity over the years, and we've all done that, right? Because of cost, because of labour cost, and particularly with the way tech is now, the days that money was cheap and you could just run at a loss and reinvest, those days are long gone. Now you have to show that you're getting a profit, which always makes most people laugh. They're like, "What do you mean? Do you think that's what if? Of course you should." But it's like, oh, it's quite different for tech. But so the world is definitely different. But the interesting part for me is the people that are the kind of subject matter experts, or I love the word intellectually curious people, are the ones that almost previously were threatened because a lot of their jobs were felt to be offshored. And I don't like that term, but for the purpose of this, I'll use it. But now with AI, a lot of those roles, to your point, are the ones that are going to be displaced in the first instance. The people then with the subject matter expertise are the ones that will be driving the agents and creating this space and making those decisions. So it's a real shift that's happened, which is exciting if you're here. but yeah, I totally agree. It's quite frightening if you're not.
I think to build on that, I think what you'll see is, and we're all seeing it, right? There will be companies with only 2 employees that are a multi-billion-dollar business. So that's one. So I think that's really something to think about. There's work happening in the background. And maybe another one, if you think about, is AI worrying? Probably also around the footprint it has. I've got a background in aviation as well, so I work for an airline. There's a whole debate about flying, not flying, etc. But call it, let's say, the internet, digital's footprint on global emissions is bigger than aviation. And it will probably be 5 times aviation in a couple of years. So if we're serious about footprint, and this is emissions, but it's water management. So my background is Dutch, so in the Netherlands, the government already, data centers, for example, are looked at very different than 10 years ago because the impact it has on the environment. So I think there's a whole world about AI and all the cool stuff, but there's also sort of a darker side in the back. And that's, if you ask me, what do I worry about? I think, how do we manage that?
Wow, that's different to what you're hearing at the moment, because the race to compute, no one's talking about the cost.
Correct.
No.
So if you wanna look at a career, if you worry about your career, go into green engineering of data centers and etc. Sustainability, I think will be a big job in the future.
But I started my career working at HP, and they did have and I think Facebook was talking about how they have these water cooled, but it seems like it's stopped. Like once ChatGPT came out, it was like, well,
it's a story nobody wants to hear. I think recently I read a story about it. There's an area in Spain. As a sort of economical growth, they invested in data centers as a sort of a growth opportunity. And then they realized basically the ground was becoming so dry, it was completely destroying the environment. So these are some of the stories, and probably you don't hear about this, probably if you would look into it more. So that's one of the areas that's worrying me.
Let's finish with this then.
Can we finish on a positive note, maybe?
No,
I was going to say.
I actually like where we went. There were so many other questions I was going to ask, like how do you prioritise what work you do, how are you going to adapt your team?
Monday.com.
But we're... I like Monday as well. It's very visual. What advice would you give to your younger self?
Jesus, that's a long time ago. Is that to me?
Yeah.
Anyone? You all got to give an answer. That's how this works.
Gives us a moment to
It is a long time ago. I think I'd follow my same advice all the way through. I think it's kind of worked out okay. The number one thing for me, and this is a trait that I have, and that is to be constantly curious, right? Yep. Just to always ask questions, to continue to learn, to always turn up, like always be present. Surround myself with good people and ask them lots of questions and learn from them. I think that curiosity is generally what takes people forward. Yep. And the whole turning up thing is a huge competitive advantage nowadays. Like if you want to progress in your career, it's easy, right? You just go to the office. Really easy, because most people don't. Like it used to be back in the day when I was trying to climb the ladder, I had to go in and kill 4 other people to try to get up a notch. Now there's no one in the office to kill. It's quite easy, right? It's simple. You just turn up and you're present and you're curious and you're asking questions all the time. And also, I constantly like to seek discomfort. I like to be really uncomfortable. Like, this is uncomfortable. It used to be really uncomfortable. Now I probably need to get a little bit more uncomfortable on stage. And if I feel too comfortable, then it's time to go. Like, it's time to move on. It's time to do something else. Because comfort is not a good thing. That's called complacency, and that inhibits your growth. And a really, really pointy piece of advice I'd give, not my younger self because it wasn't in existence back then, but younger kids, and I see this in my nephews, etc. They spend too much time scrolling, right? And they're completely missing out on the real world. And I genuinely believe, and I see this when I hire nowadays, anyone sort of below the age of 30, I can spot the 3 types: the creators, the consumers, and the considered. Right? And the considered are those that are considering how much they're creating and how much they're consuming. The creators are kind of okay. The consumers are doomed, right? They're just literally brain-dead zombies who just don't spend any other time learning anything other than what their algorithm's feeding them. So, like, I don't know if that's great advice. So that is advice that I would give to my younger nephews, specifically. Like, get off and start to learn things and start to be proactive and actually accelerate yourself rather than just falling into a scroll.
Yep.
You heading into the office and killing people at work, Leah? Or are you?
Well, we have a similar issue that not many people are coming into the office. So, yes, I hear you. But, look, I think my advice, I think that's pretty sound advice, by the way. So maybe we do get along better than you thought. But no, I think definitely as... the intellectually curious just really resonates with me as well. So I would absolutely reiterate that to my younger self, alongside some of the other things that Ryan said. But I think the other thing for me is, as I said, it is the people aspect. Like I truly, I still think when people ask me why I've been successful to date, and I say it's because I'm a people person. Like that is actually the core of what I do. Like, as I manage people, I manage teams. They're my family. Might sound a bit, sad or pathetic, but they are. Like, I spend more time at work than I do at home, and I do go into the office. So, but I just like the people aspect, and that's not just about how you relate to people, how you connect with people. But as I said, like, we build products for people, we sell to people. We people are the people that love us or are very frustrated with us, and I think that's an aspect. So I guess in extension to what you were saying, there's a risk there that disconnect is happening too much. I mean, I even know one of my younger members of my family, I don't have children myself, but my sister's family, one of them will not refuse to pick up the phone and actually talk to someone. She'd rather just do the chat because it's a bit scary to talk to someone. I'm like, oh, that's like, alarm bells. But so for me, I think I just really reiterate that the people aspect, even though, I mean, I'm a techie as well, so I love the tech, but don't lose heart or don't lose sight of, the people side.
Amazing. Yes?
I would say very similar. I think probably to my younger self, and probably in general to everyone else, is be aware of, let's say, the bubble that you're in. And I've mentioned this before. If you would take a step back, I live in Sydney, and I see buses basically going into the city and then going back in the morning and going back out into the city. Like, is this the life that you want to live?
Yeah, you should move to Melbourne. So much
Yeah.
We don't have buses.
No buses. But still, there's like, or are you looking for, let's say, a different profession? Do you want to work outside? So be really sort of conscious into the career that you're after. Because in the end, it's about people, and you can also spend your time in nature if you don't want to be in an office or in a home office. So I think don't, let's say, get your maybe in a different way. So go after your own career path, and don't let it, let's say, happen to you. And probably one more advice is if you're in your career, make sure you take the time to step back every now and then. And sort of to get out of, let's say, your world, reflect on what you're doing. So that's not a 1 week break, but if you can, take a sabbatical, take a longer break to really reflect on the things that are important to you, and look after your family.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, thank you so much. That was a really great conversation. I felt like we can keep going, which we can't, but hopefully you guys really appreciated it. You learned something. We didn't even get to why Content Square, which is great. Just assume that there is a why.
Yes.
And just thank you for taking the time to step out of your comfort zone and actually share your wisdom. It was really powerful for me sitting here. I'm going to quit as a result, and I'm only kidding. But hopefully you learned something. I just really appreciate your time, and thanks for being on the panel. It was really great.
Thank you.